Well, I do love listening to you guys sing, and I know I'm not alone in that regard. Well, I hate to bring it up, but we do need to talk about Hurricane Katrina as it plays such a major role in your story. You and your brother Barry were both living in New Orleans when the storm struck. I believe you might have been out of town at the time. Your husband managed to get out in time, but just barely, and unfortunately, Barry did not. His whereabouts were unknown for several months. And then finally, you guys got the devastating news that he had drowned. Before we talk about your own experiences relating to Katrina, I want to pay tribute to him with a track from his self-titled solo album. To me, this is sort of a cross between Cab Calloway and Joe Walsh. And the lyrics seem a bit prophetic in retrospect. But let's take a moment to remember the ultra-talented and sorely missed Barry Cowsill.
I've been looking for some time for someone to talk to and pass the time. Kid, can you tell me where it's bound when love is the dyingest word in town and friend's just a legend that can't be found? Not long ago I had someone, we'd fight like a lion, but we'd have fun. Now she's been taken far away, but love's sweet poison is here to stay. It's deep down in me and it's here to stay. I thought I could live forever on this planet we call our own. But who wants to live forever when there's nobody here who knows what love is anymore? So I walk on further through the haze for a walk towards better distant days. Kid, can you tell me where it's bound when love is dying this word in town and friends just a legend that can't be found? Well, love is a game you always play with people you hardly know. Well, ain't that the way a man can get when people don't show no more? And no one knocks on your door where the deep dark alleys pave the way for a walk through desolate distant days. Kid, can you tell me where it's bound when love is dying this word in town and a friend's just a legend that can't be found?
Well, let's talk about the toll that the hurricane took on you personally. I know your husband, Russ, had concerns as he was evacuating the city that, given the heavy traffic and the rising water levels, he might not make it out in time. I'm sure that was stressful. So did you expect your home and possessions to be intact when you returned, or did you have a sense, the extent of it?
By the time the event, as it were, as it's called, had passed, and watching our city on CNN with the rest of the world, we knew that we were screwed. That our block took 6 to 7 feet, and we knew our home. We actually lived in what they call a shotgun house here in the South, and that's just a room after a room after a room. You could shoot a gun through the front door and the back door, and it goes straight through. That's how the rooms are situated. But we lived in a 2-story. But it was a very small apartment. Russ and I had just gotten together. We just gotten married, and we had 2 kids that we were combining. We were making a baby Brady Bunch. And all of our possessions from, my life and his life were all downstairs. And the whole bottom of this house was storage. And then we lived up top. And it was tiny. The rooms were small. So we had, the very basics up top, like a couch, a TV, end tables, beds, etc. Everything else we owned was downstairs. All of his family heirlooms, all of my family, everything, every photograph, everything. And we were evacuated in Tennessee, and that's where we hung out at our friend Pat McLaughlin's singer-songwriter up there. And we knew darn well we were coming back to nothing, or to a big swampy mess of a downstairs of our lives. So it was pretty intense, man. And at that time, that was our biggest concern, because at that point, while watching CNN and realizing all our possessions were gone, I knew Barry was in town because I did, which for stories way too long to go into, and but I didn't think, I figured he was okay. He didn't have a phone, so we're not going to hear from him. I knew where he was staying, didn't have a phone, but what ended up happening? So I knew the stuff was gone. And then by the Thursday after the Monday of the storm, our phones had been kiboshed. Nobody's cell phones were working, okay? We couldn't contact one another to see who was okay, who got out, who was. It was really a mess for a couple of weeks there. And that Thursday afterwards, my phone started working, and a bunch of messages came in, one after another, rapid fire, and they were all from Barry. And I realized that he was stuck in town. He hadn't left with anybody, and he was able to make phone calls from a payphone because, ironically, the landlines, some of the landlines were working. None of the cells were, and that is when the thought of possessions being gone became a pretty minimal concern, because now we had a whole guy stuck in New Orleans that we couldn't get to and we couldn't communicate with. And so, yeah, I was it was rather Cecil B. DeMille or Irwin Allen presents Your Life, only it's real.
Yeah, well, in 2010, you released a solo album called Lighthouse, and it features a poignant and heartfelt track about this subject that kind of speaks to this point. So let's take a moment to listen to that.
Oh, New Orleans, you will always be my city. I will always be your daughter. The saints are smiling down on us tonight. Oh, New Orleans, I feel so free just standing here. The Mississippi whispering in my ear. Clouds are rolling over us tonight. I came back to wipe your tears, and I'm proud to hold your hand. There's only so much anyone could stand. The strength to stay. I don't even want the chance to fight the fight, but I don't know where to go. Maybe someplace I could see some snow. So far away from here they'll never soul, and then I promise you that I'll be back again. Or maybe I could find another way. Or maybe I'll just fall asleep, and when I come back I'll find it's just a dream. Just a dream, a real bad dream. say. No need to pack, she took it all away. But I'll take with me the world I used to know. I'll remember that I'm still your child, carry your music each and every mile, and I'll be back when my heart learns how to smile again. Until then, there's still this hole inside my heart I don't want you to see. You've given me so much, I only wanna give it back, you see. So I'm leaving here today. I'm no good to anyone this way. I've gone to save my soul, and then I promise you that I'll be back again. Or maybe I could find another way.
Well, it's a very honest and emotionally raw track, and certainly a very appropriate one under the circumstances. We're going to talk some more about your solo work in a minute, but first we need to talk about the situation with your brother Bill. He was having serious health problems and racking up the medical bills, so the Cowsills performed a concert on his behalf that was recorded and released as a live album called the Billy Cowsill Benefit Concert. He had moved up to Canada and found some musical success up there, and one of his projects was a band called the Blue Shadows, which I highly recommend to anyone who's a fan of Buddy Holly or Roy Orbison or the Everly Brothers. They definitely captured that vintage 50s sound and songwriting style. Unfortunately, his illness did get the better of him, and even more unfortunate was the timing of his passing. So I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, that's true Cowsill style right there, though. I got to tell you, Billy, as you had said, Billy had been sick for a while. He was a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, and he finally got it right the last 5 years of his life. But the toll and was taken on his body, and so he was left with many ailments of an much older man. So, and his bones were falling apart, and it was just a pretty bad mess. So, like you said, we made the record for him to help him out, and that really was fun and good, and he appreciated it, and it worked. We actually raised money, and it helped him with his medical bills. He didn't have to worry about working, and that was all cool. And Barry also, he struggled with alcoholism and drug addiction, as many of us in this family do. And he was getting ready to turn his life around just before Katrina. And Billy was really super, super, super worried. Barry had been missing for 4 months before we found him, 3 or 4, I don't know, maybe 5. And Bill was really quite upset. Billy and Barry were really tight, and Barry worshipped Bill, and to a point, and as Billy used to say, it's like, he wanted to be me so bad, and he was on all the levels I wouldn't have wanted him to be, taking after my habits, my ways, what looked cool. And so on that level, Bill worried greatly for B. And ironically, Billy passed away on the day of Barry's memorial, the one we held down in Newport, the official Barry memorial. And it was incredible because we'd finally gotten through the spreading of the ashes that morning and the memorial part, and we were getting ready to have his wake that night, a big, huge party in our hometown with like 400 people. And, we're all starting to feel like, like you do after you've had the service. Now you got to celebrate this person. We've cried endless tears, and it's time to party. And as soon as we were heading in that direction, we were all having lunch, and we got a phone call that Billy had passed away. And my brother Bob, I will never forget the look on that boy's face, because he took Barry's passing very hard, and this just kicked him in the gut. He had nothing left. So I have many theories about this, however, that being said. And my brother Bill wrote a song called, the name of it was 2 by 2. Well, go back and listen to those lyrics, because I honestly feel Bill was definitely readying towards his end. And I don't know what happened. I don't think we ever got the report back. I don't think we really wanted the report back. And we jokingly like to say that Bill was pissed off because Barry was getting too much press. And Bill, he founded the band, and this kid's all over Entertainment Tonight, CNN, blah, 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 Barry, Barry, Barry. And so he was going to show him up one more by topping the dog on his big day. That's the family joke.
Yeah.
The other thing that I really honestly truly believe is that either by the grace of God or by whatever means, Billy was wanted to be there to take care of his brother. I think he just met him up on the road and said, "Come on, brah, we'll do this together. They'll be coming behind, and we'll just, they didn't want you out here alone."
Yeah, just as we've been talking about it just now, it occurred to me that in a strange way, it's kind of a solidarity thing. It's like,
Absolutely.
linking each other together by him passing away on the exact same day. But I'm sure I understand how Bob felt, too. It's like just piling on, man. It's just really unfair.
Yeah, it was, man, that night at the wake, we're all standing up there, and we were addressing 400 people who were come to celebrate B. And Bob just said, "Look, we took a double hit today, and we lost Billy in this place." I mean, it was unbelievable. And then in a whole other way, because Billy was done. He was serving nothing and no one. He was just trying to hang on.
Yeah.
And so, really, for me, my line of thinking, how I see things, it was quite a wonderful thing. I felt so much better because I knew Billy was with Barry. I was like, well, Helen, I'm not going to worry about this.
Yeah.
So, for the little sister in me, it was like, yes, okay, yay, okay, good.
Bill was ill, and you knew that he might not have had long, so it wasn't surprising in that regard. But it was just the time.
No.
Couldn't it have been the day before, the day after? Did it have to be, like you said, on the way to the frickin' party?
Exactly, and that's why we think he did it on purpose. It's like, oh,
man.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me, by the way, I started the band.
Yeah, wow. Well, that is kind of funny. Well, I was going to play one of his recordings, probably Vagabond or something, as a tribute to him. But instead, I'm going to play a song that was recorded by his son's band to memorialize him. The name of his son is Del Cowsill. Name of the band is Dustin Bentall and the Smokes. And the name of the song, appropriately enough, is The Ballad of Billy Cowsill. So let's listen to that.
Oh, you rock.
He played on Ed Sullivan, he played on Johnny Cash, a stage where the Beatles played. They were his favorite band. And in the 70s, he slept out on the streets of New York City. And all of the vagabonds, they all knew him by name. He just had this walk, a sailor on the shore, and he sailed it north in an American Cadillac car. And in the moonlight, driving beside him, there was a blue shadow, the color just before the dawn, the brightest hour in the day of a vagabond. He cast a blue shadow on the drums and guitar amps, up in the spotlight, making the young folks dance. He'd play on the hood of his car when they wouldn't let him into the bar, with old Rose in his hands. From the floor of heaven he sang. Now in the night sky, the moonlight cast a blue
rest in peace, Uncle Billy. Well, now let's talk about your solo career some more. And back in 1976, you released a single called "It Might As Well Rain Until September." Was there a story behind that recording?
God, is there anything you don't know?
Probably
Or
not.
did Susan Olsen tell you that too? Just kidding. Okay, Rain Until September. Okay, what we said 1976, right?
Yep.
So here's the deal. The Cowsills broke up in 72, and my brothers went to all different parts of the country, of the universe, and I was left with my mom and dad and was to resume life as a normal child, which I never had to begin with. So, it was like, okay, well, now we're moving back to Rhode Island and you're going back to school. I'm like, really? Because I haven't been in since the second grade to speak of. And I just couldn't handle it, and things were going on at home that weren't healthy and weren't good. And so by the time it was about 1974, I said to my mom, I really don't think it's fair for you to expect for me to live life like a normal kid. I want to leave. I want to go live with my brother Paul. And she was like, well, what do you think you're going to do? What do you plan on doing? You're going to sit there and watch TV, drop out of school? And I'm like, no, I will go get a record deal if you let me go. And she did, and I did. And it took me a little bit, but I got a record deal with Warner Brothers label. My boyfriend at the time was my manager. That's another story for another day. And they signed me for a singles deal. Back then, you got either an album deal or a singles deal. And, they weren't sure if I was going to sell records, so it was kind of a miracle that I got it anyway. And I didn't write songs, and I had no idea musically who or what I wanted to be. I just know I had to stay out of school at all costs, so I had to make good on my promise to my mother. So I had producers that were picked for me. Really great guy, Trevor Lawrence. He was awesome. I actually had Van Dyke Parks played. He did the strings on Rain Until September.
Nice.
Klaus Foreman played the bass.
Wow.
Yeah, you're right. So it wasn't a shoddy situation at all, but they would bring me songs. The producers would bring me songs and say, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And that's how the material got picked, And I was like, I like Carole King. I love Carole King. I even recorded It's Too Late, but I've never been able to find that. It never came out. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they wanted me to sing Rain Until September, so sing it I did.
Okay, well, you probably won't be disappointed to know I'm not going to play that track. Nothing against it; it's fine. But I want to.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I thought you might be. I just wanted to touch on it. I want to save airtime for your more latter-day works, which I'm a big fan of. Now, in 2005, you released an album called Just Believe It. In 2010, you released the Lighthouse album we mentioned earlier. You've had some big-name guest stars on your solo projects, including Jackson Browne, who you mentioned, Lucinda Williams, Adam from Counting Crows, Vicki Peterson from the Bangles. I want to play another track from Lighthouse, which I know also has a New Orleans connection. So what inspired you to write the song Crescent City Snow?
Holy cow. Okay. Well, I wrote that about the first week into Katrina. We were up at a friend's farm in Tennessee, like I said earlier, and the story is that the Christmas before Katrina, in New Orleans, Louisiana, on Christmas Day, we had a snowstorm, and it hadn't snowed here, and it does it all the time now, but at that point, it had not snowed here since 1950-something. Yeah. And it was, I'm from the East Coast, and this was a very impressive snowstorm. And it was beautiful and fun, and we all called each other up, and everybody trolleyed down to the French Quarter, and we had snowball fights, and it was a glorious Christmas day. Just beautiful, beautiful day. And while sitting around the campfire, we had been banned from CNN by our host. He unplugged the TV and said, I can't watch you all sit here and watch your city drown. You've been here for 4 days, and everybody's going out. And he made a campfire for all of us, and there was another family staying with them. And we were being sent out to the campfire that evening, and he's a musician, so he'd have guitars sitting around the chairs, He's a wonderful guy, Pat McLaughlin. And anyway, I remember being on the way out to the porch, and it was a weekend. We're just reeling still. And Russ said to me, he goes, man, he said, he just looked at me and said, I feel like I'm a kite, and I have no string. That's how I feel. And I went, wow, that's pretty. He does that all the time. I'm like, that's good, babe. That's really, that could be a song. And I know what you mean. And as we were sitting around the fire that night, I just started thinking about that line, just how we were feeling, and this storm, and the vision in my head of watching hour after hour of CNN and the houses and the water and the people in the boats and looking for my brother and looking for my house and all this stuff. And I was thinking back to a simpler time, the last beautiful weather pattern that we had, the last beautiful collective New Orleans moment was Christmas Day the year before. And I just started, it just went from there. I was just the different emotions that each weather event, just wishing we could go back.
I like the tune, and it kind of picks up at the end. What's the idea behind that?
Because that's what we do, isn't it? We were all sitting around, because that's what we do here in New Orleans, and it took maybe a month to finish. And lots of it staying at different people's houses, and the end of the song came when we were back. I don't know, it was like a month in, and we winded our way back up to Lafayette, where my husband's family, my in-laws, my dear friend, my dear family were hanging out, and we were all just sitting around one night, probably with a bottle of wine, and we were all talking about what do we want to get home to? When we can go home, what do we want? And we all took turns, like somebody said, I want to go to the Circle Bar. I want to be tailgating at the Superdome. I can't wait for Saint season. We're going to tailgate. We just were all sharing things that we wanted, and it's so beautiful sometimes writing songs, because it's just stuff that it's channeling. It's just happening. It's channeling your emotions, people's emotions, and there it was. It was the end of the song, because we are a resilient group over here, and you just can't keep us down, and that's what. And in the end of the day, at the end of the month, I was grateful that that's how it ended, because I didn't know how I was going to end that song, and it just was like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so we said all this, and now this is the bottom line. I want to go back to the Circle Bar and wonder at the wee hours of the morning where I had parked.
Well, I think after all this talk, we need to share this with the listeners here. So, from 2010 solo album Lighthouse, this is Susan Cowsill with her original composition, Crescent City Snow.
Without a string, only my tail to guide me. Just paper and sticks and tattered sheets, waiting on a friendly wind. Hold all our memories in one hand, so tight that you won't let them go. And in the other hand, we pray that the wind and the panic and the rain will all turn to a soft and quiet snow. Thing scattered across the land. But I knew that I was going back to a place where I know who I am. Holding on memories in one hand, so tight that you won't ever, ever, ever let them go. And in the other hand, pray that the wind and the panic and the rain would all turn to rain. Soft and quiet, gentle, peaceful.